All right, and welcome back to the forecast card. God almighty, man. This is usually the time of year I make the most money, and I am just getting completely clobbered. After the first four was great, and then since then it's just been completely downhill. Hopefully these games start working out a little bit. It doesn't seem like modeling is working too much for this tournament. A lot of it is just complete crazy, weird performances. But yeah, let's get into the games. St. Mary's, really tough game to start off on. Pathetic first half. They just could not score. They, for some reason, just kept shooting threes, even though they're not that great of a three-point shooting team. The second half, they really figured it out. They started to play in the paint, get free throws, get offensive boards. Um, I just don't know what they were doing. They really limited Vanderbilt on the offensive glass, which is exactly what they had to do. They completely dominated the glass, 41-28. Turned the ball over 9 times. Wasn't too bad of a differential there, but yeah, just a pathetic first half ended up being the difference. They come all the way back. They got to like a 6-point lead. Vanderbilt hit a three. Then they made both free throws going up 5. And then Vanderbilt hit a three. It's all in the last minute. And then Vanderbilt misses the first free throw, makes a second. And then with 30 seconds left, whoever they were playing, Vanderbilt shoots a three, misses, gets the offensive rebound, and then shoots a buzzer beater three that misses. At least if they made that buzzer beater, we would have went to overtime, had a chance, but somehow they burnt the entire 30-second of the clock without St. Mary's getting possession. And St. Mary's never went to the line to at least get us a push if they made one free throw and or potential backdoor cover. But really tough one, man. I genuinely believe that was 100% the right side. Just didn't end up working out in the end. Maryland, pretty sweat-free. Probably the only sweat-free game of the entire day for me. They dominated that game the entire time. Marquette, -3.5. If you listened to the video yesterday, I said that Marquette's on my ban list, and I remember why, man. Statistically, they always have incredible matchups, but they just suck. Like, there's no identity. They just shoot up balls. They could not hit a three to save their life. They got crushed on the boards. I just don't even know what happened in that game. New Mexico just shot, almost 50%. They just got clobbered. Not a single person on their team had a positive plus minus. Cam Jones, an elite talent, but dog shit. Dog shit. Anyway, that game sucked. I shouldn't have bet it. I knew it, but I still did it because I'm an idiot. Akron had a little bit of life in the first half to some degree, but they just could not contain this Arizona team in the second half. Again, they shot 7 for 25 from free throws, or three-pointer. They only shot 33% on the night. Yeah, this was a tough matchup for them. Obviously, they dominated. Arizona had 16 turnovers to Akron's 7, but they weren't able to convert on those. They got crushed on the boards, 53-22. Didn't make up the turnover gap because half the time on the turnovers they just got. They didn't get any points from it. Like a lot of them were like fast break. They were just kind of a steal and then they just brick a shot. Yeah, definitely a tough matchup. On hindsight, like I understand that they're a really small team against a really big Arizona team. That's why I kind of didn't like this bet, but I thought Arizona would bench their starters, man, especially considering how injury prone they've been. But they all played for like Bradley was in that game till like the last minute. Their lead scorer. So shitty game. They don't even get close to covering. I don't think they would have even covered the first half line. So it is what it is. Xavier, back and forth game. They had little runs and chances of looking like they might cover, but this Illinois team is just a little bit too deep. Xavier, yeah, it is what it is. Illinois shot 18 for 18. Perfect free throw game. Again, this was a very similar game to the Akron one. Illinois had 14 turnovers to Xavier's 5, but they got out-rebounded 25-45. Just gave away too many free buckets. They had four people scoring over 10 points. Xavier only had 3. Swain tried to carry them, but everyone on their team sucked except for him. It is what it is. They lose that game by 13. Bryant, first half, got a little bit sweaty at the end when Michigan State went on a 10-0 run. Luckily, we took the first half because they would not have covered the full game. But yeah, Michigan State, I think they ended up losing the first half by like 5. So that was, I would say, relatively sweat-free up until like 3 minutes left. And the least sweaty game of the day, Liberty, they had no shot, man. Just to give context, this Liberty team is the fifth best three-point shooting team in all of college basketball. They average above 40%. And their 3-point, it looks better at the end of the game. Like, they started to hit a couple at the end. But there's one point they were 3 for 34 from 3. And then they end up hitting like 4 in a row at the end of the game. But way too fucking late, man. You can't shoot 20% from 3 when you take 37 of them. Again, Oregon took 16 fewer 3-point attempts and made 2 more 3-pointers. Again, the 3 ball has continued to fuck me. In terms of turnovers, pretty even. Oregon had 2 more than them. Slight rebound edge to Oregon. Liberty had more blocks, but they still lost by 29 points because they can't hit a fucking 3. So I don't know what to tell you, man. The 3 ball, I fucking hate it because if you bet against a 3 ball team and they're hot, then you get crushed. If you bet for a 3 ball team and they can't make a single one, you lose by 30. These games have felt so coin flippy on the 3 ball. I don't really know what to say, but yeah, 2-5 on the day. Lock doesn't come through. Pretty bloody day. But in honor of that, I'm betting every single game until college basketball is over. And that's everything in NIT, everything in college, everything in the big dance. Feel free to fade me because I can't seem to figure out this tournament this year for some reason. But appreciate all the kind words nonetheless. Hopefully we bounce back. But I'm definitely mentally in the gutter right now and not very confident in anything. So we'll see how today goes. But yeah, I have 10, however many games there are. That's how many bets I have today. Let's get into each of them. All right, heading on to game number 1, we have McNeese versus Purdue. I love the Cinderella story with McNeese. I think they have like a really solid coach, even though he's leaving, still a solid coach. But this feels like Purdue's chance to make a deep run this year. It really seemed like they didn't play as bad as they have back in the last 2 years with Edie. It seemed like they played with a lot more confidence when things weren't going right. They made a lot fewer errors. And now that they're not really trying to build their entire offense around one guy, it seems like they're definitely look a lot more diverse in their options. And this McNeese team, honestly, I think if you watch the tape of that second half, I don't know if McNeese played a good game or if Clemson just played a bad game. The fact that Clemson was able to drop 52 points on them in the second half, to me, just kind of shows the inexperience of this McNeese team. I don't know how they almost threw that game away. It was pretty insane. Everyone's talking about how much of a wagon they are. They just beat Clemson. Very impressive. The biggest seed upset so far this year. But I genuinely believe that was just Clemson collapsing. I think this Purdue team, they've played the 4th hardest schedule in college basketball. McNeese hasn't even played the top 200 hardest schedule. I think this is going to be a big step up, and I think they're not going to get nearly as lucky with how bad. I think Purdue is just a lot more efficient of a shooting team. I think this is going to be a much tougher contest with them, with a much better coach. If you look at where Purdue likes to score, they're the 2nd best team in field goal percentage. They make over 50% of their shots. 4th best from the 3, 2nd best in the paint. 17th best in the mid-range. Pretty solid team at getting to the line. They're going to dominate the boards against this McNeese team. I think offensively they're going to find no problem scoring on this McNeese team. Yeah, they're a decent defense, but I think Purdue is just levels above them, and it's really hard to look at teams like McNeese that come out of these small conferences because like all of their stats are inflated because they just beat up shitty teams all year. Like McNeese is definitely the best team in their conference by a mile. Everyone else sucks. So their record just completely inflated, their stats inflated. When you kind of normalize the data points here, I think Purdue is going to end up being a much, much better team. And we're getting a really decent line here. Basically 2 to 3 possessions. I feel like where McNeese likes to score, they're going to find some success. Purdue has always struggled in defending the paint, but McNeese really not that great of a team in shooting in their basket. They're not really that great of an offensive team. They're like outside of the top 150 in every percent metric. They'll probably have some success on the offensive boards. Purdue doesn't really turn the ball over a lot. They don't foul a lot. And again, Purdue already got the first game out of their belt. It's typically what we see in these kind of tournaments. Historically, anyway, who knows what the fuck's going on this year. It does seem very chalky, but I think Purdue is going to be the better team here. I'm sure they reviewed the shit out of that tape to see what Clemson was doing to make this McNeese team panic in the second half. And I wouldn't be surprised if Purdue wins this game by 20 points. Obviously, the opposite can happen again. maybe McNeese is the Cinderella this year. My personal Cinderella was Xavier, but they already just dropped to Illinois. So I don't really know if there's any team here that can, any of these dogs that can really, really compete. I think Drake's going to get shit on tomorrow. Yeah, not really much to say. McNeese due for a lot of negative regression. Purdue still due for positive regression, despite being a pretty solid team. Purdue is a solid road team. Furthermore, this is going to basically not be a home game for Purdue, but it's much further from where McNeese plays. And Purdue obviously has a lot more fans, making it pretty far in the tournament. Last year, all the way to the finals. I think they have just way more experience, both on the coaching side and some of their veterans. McNeese obviously is a pretty old team. That does give them some edge in terms of handling, pressure. But Purdue, I think they have the best point guard in all of college basketball. They've been a pretty elite team on the road. 4-1 as road favorites. They haven't necessarily been great on the neutral courts this year. But yeah, I just think this is going to be a tough match. McNeese has theoretically done okay against top 25 teams this year. But again, this is just a Purdue team that I think is going to outclass them. Again, anything can happen. It's still March Madness, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be on the other side. But this line has dropped from +7 all the way to 5. I think 5.5 is a little bit too low. I think I'm willing to take a chance here with Purdue. So give me Purdue -4.5, 5.5 in the first game. All right, heading on to game number 2, we have Arkansas versus St. John's. For this game, I'm just going to take Arkansas first half. Now that this team has only one injury on their roster, still an important one. But they looked really, really motivated in that Kansas game. Seems like they have a really, really high energy and I guess really confident team. And they definitely are a team that comes out a little bit hotter than St. John's. St. John's looked crazy in the second half of their last game, but on paper, I think this is a spot here where Arkansas is going to be able to dominate the boards. They're going to get to the line a lot. I really think Arkansas has decent matchups here. The only spot that St. John's is not great at defending is the paint. That's where Arkansas scores a lot of their points. It's where they're the most efficient. Sure, St. John's is going to find some success on the offensive boards, forcing turnovers, but it seems like this team is just asleep for the first half, and something awakens. This is going to be a 2 veteran coach matchup. These guys know each other extremely well, and I think because of that, it's going to be a really tight game at half. Again, St. John's is an elite team at making adjustments at half. We've seen that. They come out at half blazing. It seems like they completely look like a different team. So I'm only going to take Arkansas in the first half. I think this is going to be a really tight game, if not even Arkansas being able to be ahead here. St. John's still a team due for so much regression. I think their stats are still inflated for being a Big East team. Who did they even play last game? They played Omaha. They looked a little bit shaky in the first half. Again, we haven't really seen them play too tough of teams. This is still a team that only beat Seton Hall by 10 points. They have looked beatable at times, and because of that, again, I think the regression is due to hit them eventually. They shot really well yesterday, but or 2 days ago. I don't personally believe that it's going to hit. They're going to be hitting shots like they did last game. I think they kind of burned all their lucky shooting to end off that game, and Arkansas is going to come out hot with momentum, beating the projected AP1 team. Obviously, Kansas is not a great team by any means, but I think they're a lot better than Omaha. I think they're going to be a little bit more battle-tested in this tournament than St. John's, that kind of just dully walked their way into a win over a much worse team. So give me Arkansas to come out hot and cover the 1.5 +4 spread. All right, heading on to game number 3 of Michigan versus Texas A&M. I really like the under in this spot, only the first half under. These teams, we've seen Michigan, obviously they started to get their offense going now. The tournament's kind of gotten rolling. But this is a team that was losing games, scoring like 50 points. And this happened pretty consistently for a while to end off the year. Wasn't really due to injuries or anything. And both these teams, again, played extremely slow plays. They're both elite defensively. If you look at this matchup, both these teams are going to be playing quite far away from home. I think it's going to be pretty split, so I don't think either team's going to get too much momentum from the crowd. You could probably argue Michigan probably just has more fans, at least in basketball, so we'll see what happens there. But again, this Michigan team for a little bit, they put up 49 points against Nebraska, 62 against Michigan State, 73, 65, 62. They only put up 59 in their win against Wisconsin. And they only put up 68 in their win against UCSD. Texas A&M, yeah, they just had 2 games where they shot really well, putting up 80 and 89. But that was against Yale and Texas. 2 teams that I think are on a much shittier version than Michigan. Before that, they still only put up 70, 84, 69, 54, 69, 69, 67. Pretty low scoring games. And if you look at the matchups here, both teams are due for a ton of regression, both minus 20 on shot quality bets. They're both teams that have been offensively playing way better than they should be in terms of the shot quality that they do get. Texas A&M, they're a team that relies heavily on offensive boards to get their offense going. They're going to find some success in forcing turnovers, but Michigan is third best team in limiting teams' field goal percentage. They're elite 3-point defense, solid paint, solid mid-range, and they're really good on their own boards, obviously with 2 7-footers. And Texas A&M, they'll shoot some free throws, but they're not a good free throw shooting team, so I'm not necessarily concerned about that, especially early on. And then on the other side, Michigan, they like to shoot a lot of threes and paint shots. Texas A&M, not a great 3-point defense, but Michigan's not a good 3-point shooting team. But in the paint, Texas A&M top 10. Again, they're going to get to the line a little bit. They're going to struggle. Texas A&M also lead on their own boards. They don't turn the ball over. I think this is going to be a slow game. Obviously, Michigan plays at a fast pace, but I think Texas A&M is going to be able to slow it down. And I think we're going to be looking at like a 31-30 type of total for this half. I think these 2 teams are just 6th best in offense in field goal percentage allowed and 3rd best in field goal percentage allowed. And both these teams already played in this one game. I think they're going to be playing at a bit slower of a pace. So this could easily get shit on, but I'm really expecting this to be a defensive masterclass game between 2 teams that haven't necessarily been consistent on the offensive side. So give me first half under 66.5. All right, heading on to game number 4, we have Creighton versus Auburn. Now, I just refuse to take dogs in the full game anymore. It just seems like at half, if a team's not blowing a team out like they expected, they just come out blazing. And they make adjustments on the defensive end that the other team just can't make. Either that be weaker coaching, whatever. I think Creighton, the Auburn team has looked really, really shaky. I think everyone has kind of said that, but then they kind of turn up the heat in the second half. Again, Auburn, a team still due for a ton of negative regression on the offensive side. Creighton also due for a decent chunk, but not nearly as much as Auburn is. If you look at this matchup on paper, Creighton, much better of a first half team than a second half team historically. Auburn plays, top 3 in both first and second half, so I'd rather just take Creighton in the first half where they typically do play better. Creighton a bit more consistent. They have the momentum coming in here, and they have been playing much better on the road, especially as dogs. They're one of the best road dog covers in college basketball. Auburn, they're a team that pretty balanced. They shoot about 40% from 3, Creighton a top 50 3-point defense. They shoot only 20% of their shots from mid-range, where they're going to have the biggest edge. And the near basket, Creighton top 10 defense. Creighton's the best team at not fouling. They're top 20 on their own boards. Auburn might be the difference maker here, but I think Creighton has cleaned up their game a little bit in this tournament and will limit their turnovers a little bit. Because Louisville, a team that's really good at forcing turnovers, Creighton completely shut them down on that end. So Auburn, if you look at what they like to do, Creighton offensively anyway, they're a team that shoots a lot of threes. Again, Auburn is an elite 3-point defense, don't get me wrong. And I think Creighton might struggle to get their offense going. But again, Auburn starts out a little bit slow. Creighton's the best paint shooters in all of college basketball, ranked number 1 in your basket percentage. I think they're going to find some opportunities to score. I think both teams will. But again, I think Creighton is just a team that's going to come out hot, more motivated here. Auburn looking shaky. They're still the favorites. Probably top 3 to win it all. They're a very efficient offense, but I think this is a spot here where Auburn might come out a little slow. Creighton motivated off that pretty solid win over Louisville. And I think they still could find some success to score. So it'll be a fun game to watch, don't get me wrong. SEC over Big East. I think Creighton's the only Big East team that has any chance to make it far. I think Creighton keep this game pretty close, at least in the first half, and then I think Auburn wins this game by 20 points. But give me Creighton first half +5. All right, heading into game number 5, which in my opinion actually will be my favorite game of the day. These are 2 offenses that are really fun to watch, really good guard play. Both pretty solid defensive teams, but this Wisconsin team, for whatever reason, they are really, really hot out of the gate. I don't know if maybe it's the way that they typically practice games, but if you look at their most recent scores, they just mollywop you in the first half. God, I used that word twice in this video. And they also typically give up a lot. They lost against Michigan. They were leading at half. Lost that game by 6. Game against UCLA, they put up 48 in the second half. Got outscored by 3 in the second half. They outscored UCLA by 19 in the first half, and they got outscored 3 in the second. Again, Michigan State, they outscored them by 4 in the first, gave up 1 extra in the second half. Against Northwestern, beat them by 7 in the first half, tied in the second half. Against Penn State, put up 40-35 in the first half, gave up 51 points in the second half, and lost that game. Definitely a first half team. BYU on the other side, they typically play a little bit slower to get out the gate, especially defensively. We saw that in their most recent game against VCU, where they started up quite slow, pulled away at around the end of the second half, or first half, sorry. But again, that was against a VCU team that I don't think is nearly as balanced of a team as Wisconsin is. I think Wisconsin's going to come out hot. I think BYU is going to make adjustments and probably going to end up winning this game outright. But I think Wisconsin has a really good chance here to keep it close, as one of the better first half teams in all of college basketball. In terms of what you look at in terms of stats, model wise, I have Wisconsin winning this game by 2 points. Super even matchup. Both teams elite offensively. Both teams, I wouldn't even say BYU is that elite defensively. They're a solid defensive team. But Wisconsin, they're going to find a ton of success from 3 in the paint. They're probably going to struggle a bit, but mid-range 3-point BYU really struggles to defend. Again, Wisconsin, the best free throw shooting team in college basketball still. BYU, their biggest weakness in terms of ever being an elite team is the fact that they cannot hit their free throws. They're ranked under 70% from the free throw line. That's make a 14% discrepancy between these two teams. So if fouls do start flying at any point, I think Wisconsin's going to get a lot of free points here. Again, Wisconsin elite on the offensive glass, limiting opportunities. Both these teams don't give up turnovers, don't give up offensive boards. So it's really going to come down to which team is going to hit more threes. And BYU is the more elite 3-point shooting team, but Wisconsin is the better 3-point defense. You could say the same with the mid-range and the near basket. BYU has a legitimate edge there. But again, I think Wisconsin is riding this wave here. I think this is a chance they can make it far. BYU has looked a little bit shaky at times this tournament, or at least the last few days after having a loss after their big streak. Yeah, I think Wisconsin can come out here and win the first half, but I do think BYU makes adjustments and gets hot from 3 like they always seem to do. All right, now heading into my last 5 bets. Houston -5 is going to be my lock of the day. I love this Gonzaga team. You saw me bet them against Georgia as my lock a few days ago, but this Gonzaga team really struggles against elite defenses. If you look at their history, who they've played, all of their losses come against really good defensive teams. They lost to St. Mary's, and then they played St. Mary's again, lost, but they put up 58 points and 67 in those games. They lost to Oregon State. Then they lost to UConn, pretty elite defensive team. They lost to UCLA, a team that basically only plays defense. And then they lost to West Virginia, another elite defensive team. Houston is, again, the best defensive team in college basketball. And that kind of concerns me with this Gonzaga team. Am I afraid that they maybe shot a little bit too well in their last game? Yeah, I think they're going to think they can do that again. They're going to have confidence, but Houston locks you up. And their offense is nothing to scoff at. I think this is a Gonzaga team that has never played a defense this good this year. And every time they play a defense even half as good as Houston, they've lost. I think this is going to be a really tough matchup for them. I have them winning this game by 9. Yes, Gonzaga's has all the momentum, whatever, but their schedule has not been tough. I think Houston's going to have, to some degree, the crowd in this game, just being, being a Big 12 team, you just typically have a bit more fans, especially traveling. And again, Houston offensively still a top 4 in offense efficiency. They're going to find success in the paint. They're going to get offensive boards, but Gonzaga's going to have to work for every single ounce of their scoring. So I think this is a spot here where Houston is going to lock them down, and they're going to score maybe like 50 points, and Houston will probably score 65, 60 points, whatever. Who knows? Maybe Gonzaga's turned a leaf, and they're an elite team in these tournaments. Don't get me wrong, but Gonzaga's true stat is that they've always made it past the first round. I don't think they make it past the second round. I think Houston's too tough a matchup. The 1 seeds this year are insane. And even though I do technically have Gonzaga in my bracket, I think I'm not sure if they can do it here. Defensively, after what I saw yesterday or 2 days ago, yes, they played really well, but I didn't like what I saw on the court. They were just hitting their shots well, but that's about it. So Houston -5, my favorite game for tomorrow. UCLA first half versus Tennessee. UCLA, again, a team that comes out really hot. At the beginning of the game, they play really good defense to start. They typically get loose a bit. Tennessee, opposite. They let teams play really close in the first half, and then they kind of go on runs in the second. You saw it against the South Carolina game where they were tied at half. That was only like a few weeks ago. It's a UCLA team. They're shooting really well, and their shooting kind of hits a wall after a little bit. Obviously, they looked amazing against Utah State, especially defensively, holding Utah State to 47 points. I think they have the defense to lock up Tennessee, who's offensively hasn't really been very impressive outside of Ziegler. Their offense is kind of gets stifled quite often. I think it's going to be a really fun game to watch. UCLA came out really hot, put up 39, only let up 27 in the first half. Again, this is a top 20 defense in college basketball. Obviously, Tennessee's a bit more of an elite defense, and I think they eventually figure it out and start finding success. But this is a gritty UCLA team. I think they have better offensive weapons than Tennessee, and if Tennessee's defense starts out slow like it always does, I really like UCLA to be winning, or if not, really close here at half. I don't really like the full game total. I think at 5, you could probably see Tennessee making adjustments and starting to hit threes. But yeah, give me UCLA first half plus 2.5. And then lastly, Dayton versus Chattanooga. I don't really want to bet this game. Both these games stink, but I think Dayton's just a way better team. They're a lead on the road. They have played a significantly harder schedule. They're going to get points off the turnovers. They're going to get points off steals, free throws. Chattanooga is going to have a lot of success in the paint, but if Dayton's threes fall, this is going to be a blowout. So I'm just going to lean Dayton on that one. In terms of my sprinkles, these are games that I don't really want to bet, but I'm betting every game. So these are like 0.1 unit games, just so I have a little bit of skin in the game. Texas Tech, they completely shit the bed last time I bet them, but they bet like, man, that was stupid. They shot a March Madness record of 47 threes, and they only made like 11 of them. Just pathetic, or like 14 of them. Just terrible shooting. Obviously, Drake's a really good three-point defense, but I think they're going to make adjustments. They're going to have a significant edge in the paint where Drake really struggles to defend. I just don't. I think Texas Tech is going to be embarrassed with how close that game ended up being down the stretch, considering how massive favorites they were. I think Texas, like, they were losing at some point in the second half in that game. I think their coach is going to yell at them, like, dude, you can't take 46 threes, especially when they're not falling. And this time, I'm hoping that they look at stats, because if they do, they're going to see that they have a huge edge in the paint. And I think they also are an elite free throw shooting team. I think they can pull ahead in this game and take out the second Cinderella that I still think is dog shit. They play a weird slow-ass pace, but that's all they do. They're just annoying little fucking rats, and I think they're going to get crushed here by Texas Tech. And to finish it off, Bradley versus George Mason under. Sometimes if I don't have any confidence in the game, I like to look at what other people are saying. A lot of people are on the over. I would probably lean Bradley in this game, but these are two teams due for a ton of regression, and they both have a history. Like, Bradley only put up like 54 points against Drake. George Mason, very similar defense to Drake, if not a little bit better. George Mason, Bradley's pretty solid defense as well. George Mason's an offense that both these teams do for a shit ton of regression, like a ton of regression. I think that both these games I think it's going to be a really low scoring total. Obviously, both teams can get hot offensively. They have the ability to, but I think they play at really, really slow paces, and both are better defensively than they are offensively. So, give me the under 133 in that game. You could easily hit 150, but I see a world here where this game is extremely low scoring. So, those are the 10 games that I'm betting. To recap, my favorite game is Houston -5 versus Gonzaga. I think Purdue -5.5. Arkansas first half +4. Michigan versus Texas A&M 1/2 under 66.5. Creighton first half +5. Wisconsin first half money line over BYU. UCLA first half +2.5 versus Tennessee. Dayton -2.5 versus Chattanooga. Texas Tech minus 6.5, and Bradley versus George Mason under 133. Hopefully we have a good day today. Could go in 10. Wouldn't be surprised with the way that these games are going, but I'm going to stay optimistic here. Hopefully we end on a high note. And I appreciate no one going into the comments of the last video and calling me an idiot like it's happened in the past, because it is pretty shitty to see when you see people lose money because of you, but it is what it is. I do my best. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow.